Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watch You Want, and thanks for logging on. Today we are looking at the Mille RM60-01. You can see this extraordinary Regatta Flyback chronograph on our website, watchyouwant.com. Purchase it there, and if you enjoy these videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Watch You Want Inc. You can also click on the card in the upper right-hand corner of the screen at any time to see our full listing for this watch with high-resolution images, accessories included, and naturally complete pricing information. Now on my wrist, 6 1/3 inches, 16 centimeters in circumference, you can see that this circa 2014 novelty is simply immense. Now that is the style of the watch. It's not designed to pair proportionally with any human forearm, so the bottom line is that if you're into the look of the oversized watch with an outsized persona, if you believe, as Mille does, that a timepiece should be spectacular in look as well as function, well, this is your timepiece. And I can tell you that entirely in titanium, it does wear light on the wrist, that also being a function of the large amount of the strap itself, which is lightweight, natural vulcanized rubber. Now you can see on my wrist, it's immense. It is 60 millimeters from lug to lug. It is 17 millimeters thick, and across the broad of the case, this watch measures a true 50 millimeters, and that not including the crown or the chronograph pushers or the UTC adjuster on the flank. This is simply an immense timepiece. Designed for nautical activity, it's as big as a mega yacht in its own right. I will say, however, it's an easy watch to wear. You can see Mille understands that it's pushing the limits of human anatomy with this case, so it does have a tremendous amount of camber about the bottom. You can see just how dramatically and quickly, as they part the flank of the case, these lugs arc down and around the wrist. So I'll try to give you a profile shot just to explain the ergonomics of this watch, but you can see how from this profile shot, it really doesn't overlap the wrist so much as it wraps the wrist. It starts down and around the curvature of your forearm because that's simply how the case is shaped. Now the strap, although it does conform to the end of the case, which is to say there is no daylight between the flank of the case and the end of the strap, nevertheless it's actually molded in the form of a bracelet, so this doesn't have any tendency to fight the curve of your wrist as some of these rigidly mounted straps can. And as it moves away from the bolstered portion, which provides a beautiful visual transition from the case, you can see how slim and supple the strap really becomes. Very easy to curve around the soft underside of your wrist. Now the nice thing here is that you get a beautifully finished and elaborately designed, but nevertheless extremely versatile and traditionally inspired pin buckle. This makes for easy adjustment on the fly if your wrist expands in activity or shrinks in cold or inactive conditions. Also, you get the ability to simply pin the strap at whatever point fits your wrist, rather than risking the often harrowing activity of cutting a rubber strap on a high-end watch to fit your wrist. I prefer not to play that kind of blind man's bluff, so I prefer the pin buckle on the strap. A perfect companion to a dress watch, an even better companion to an active lifestyle watch. Now here you can see the centerpiece of the timepiece. It is that dial. The dial and the movement are pretty much inseparable. What you're actually looking at is a combination of a sapphire overlaying all of the calibrated segments of the dial, the sub-dial, the window for the double-digit date, the even smaller window for the month. It is an annual calendar, and you can see that there's a lot going on here, but it all starts with the logic of the bidirectional rotating bezel. Now there are 4 separate ways you can use this bezel in conjunction with the hour displays on the dial to find north. Now they differ depending on whether you use the UTC hand or the local hour hand, and whether you are in the northern or southern hemisphere. So I'm just going to note that this watch has the ability to find north in conjunction with properly set time in both northern and southern hemisphere, thanks to the bidirectional rotating bezel. If you want the details, richardmille.com has them. Now in terms of the actual functionality, you're getting a tremendous insight into the RMA C2 movement. You can see a lot of the train elements. You can see the individual wheels of the Grand Date just below the second sapphire. You can see that a lot of materials are brought to the fore here. You have the rubber of the strap, you have the titanium of the case, you have the sapphire of the dial and the underlying dial, as well as a carbon fiber flange bearing all of the individual luminescent indices of the hours. Again, a lot going on. You can adjust the UTC, the 24-hour time zone, using this pusher corrector at 8 o'clock. Likewise, you can activate the functions of the Flyback chronograph, traditionally start and stop, or should you prefer, simply activate the Flyback mechanism. Finally, the movement does feature hacking seconds. So when you pull the crown to extremity, you do stop the balance and you allow precise synchronization to a known accurate reference timer. Normally this is more of an academic feature or a perfectionist feature, but when you're using a timepiece for navigation, and that is the intent of the RM60, it takes on greater meaning, so it's nice to see that function there. Likewise, there is a quick set function for the date, so you can rapidly cycle through the double digits of the month and cycle through the individual months of the year. Now in terms of the design of the crown and the pushers, yes, they're elaborate, but there is an underlying logic. Now when I lock the crown, you could see the red triangle is visible. I've not just locked the crown down and assured 100-meter water resistance, I've also locked the pushers. As Richard Mille has found, when you have pushers of this size, ease of use is assured, but as you descend to the maximum test depth of the timepiece, there is a tendency for the underwater pressures to push the pushers out of sequence. And so the crown, when it locks, and it locks with an easy quarter turn and opens the same way. It locks the pushers as well as the crown. Very clever engineering. Now you can see that the watch is a feast of colors, textures, and a dial of incredible depth. And the case back really is no different. The watch features what's known as the RMA-C2 movement. It does feature hacking, it does feature a quick adjust for the month. It also features an annual calendar, a flyback chronograph, twin mainspring barrels, a 55-hour power reserve, high efficiency, unlubricated ceramic rotor bearings with a variable polar moment of inertia, personalizable winding mass rotor. It also features skeletonization, as you can see, and to assure that the mass being sprung by the elastomers that actually join the movement to the case is minimized. All of the bridges and plates are not just skeletonized, but they're rendered in titanium. And of course, as with any serious sports watch, you can see that the balance is free-sprung for resistance to shock-induced timing variation. This is an impressive piece of engineering. Arguably, the most impressive ocean-going engineering next to an Ohio-class missile sub. This is also almost the same size. If you want to see a regatta-themed flyback chronograph with outsized features, outsized proportions, and outsized character and personality, you need to see this RM60 regatta flyback chronograph on our website, watchyouwant.com.